Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the October 10th, 2018 meeting of the Rotterdam Town Board. Ms. Mark, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Christo?
Here.
Mr. Guidarelli?
Here.
Mrs. Miller Herrera is absent. Mr. Signor?
Here.
Mr. Thomason?
Present.
4 present.
So at approximately 5:40 p.m., we started our agenda meeting, and at approximately 6:11 p.m. with a motion by Mr. Christo and a second by Mr. Signor, and all voting in favor, we entered executive session to discuss medical issue regarding employee number 1010-2018. And then we exited executive session at 6:44 p.m. with a motion by Mr. Christo and a second by Mr. Guidarelli, and all voting in favor to exit executive session. So Joe, please stand for the pledge. And Richard, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So the first order of business I'd like to take upon ourselves here, Diana, I know you want to come up too, is to recognize our members of the Sons of Italy that are here this evening, and if you'd all like to come up. And Dolores, was it Dolores that came and set up everything outside the table last week? Yeah. So Dolores came by and set up the display here for us, and to celebrate National Italian American Heritage Month. And so I'm going to read the proclamation to all of you, and then I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. I do it with everybody.
What do I get if I get the right answer?
Well, I can tell you this, you're still going to pay your water rent. And I can't do anything about that, but maybe we can figure something out at the lodge. Or, I'll buy you coffee at the lodge, right? So whereas the month of October is designated as National Italian American Heritage Month, and whereas in the 5 centuries since Christopher Columbus, the son of Genoa, Italy, first set sail across the Atlantic Ocean, countless individuals have followed the course he charted to seek a new life in America. Since that time, generations of Italian Americans have helped shape our society and steer the course of the history of America. During Italian American Heritage Month, we recognize the rich heritage of Americans of Italian descent and celebrate their immeasurable contributions to our nation. And whereas bound by enduring values of faith and family, Italian Americans have flourished in all areas of their public and economic life while preserving their proud Italian traditions. Upon arrival in the United States, the Italian Americans have persevered with hope and hard work to reach for the American dream and help build our great country. As proud service members, they also defended the liberty and integrity of the United States since the Revolutionary War. And whereas today the legacy of these intrepid immigrants is found in the millions of American men, women, and children of Italian descent who strengthen and enrich our country, Italian Americans operate thriving businesses, teach the principles of their forebears, dedicating their knowledge and skills to the growth of our country. Now, therefore, I, Steve Thomason, Supervisor of the Town of Rotterdam, on behalf of the Town Board, Town Administration, and citizens of the Town of Rotterdam, recognize National Italian American Heritage Month, and all those who celebrate their Italian American customs, most especially our own Order Sons of Italy, Gabriel D'Annunzio Lodge, number 321, located on Hamburg Street in Rotterdam, New York, and encourage our community to acknowledge the significant contributions that Italian Americans have made to our town, our country, the state of New York, and the United States of America. So thank you for being here, Peter.
I would just like to say thank you for having Dolores bring the presentation there. A lot of the residents come in and they look at it, they all have different little things about it and everything, but I just want to say thank you, and I'm recognizing October as a National Italian American Heritage Month by celebrating all the successes and achievements of Italian Americans. So to all the Italian Americans who work hard to make America great, we thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Diane. Thanks a lot.
So why don't you, if you don't mind, give us just a brief on some of the community, I'll say donations, contributions that the Sons of Italy makes here. The camera's right there.
Oh.
Yeah, that's all right.
All right. Now, just one of the things, what I really had planned to say is, a number of years ago, 13 to be exact, our offices were located in downtown Albany. And downtown Schenectady. And then we relocated to Rotterdam. And since then, our membership has more than doubled. It's doubled to the point where now we're now the largest lodge in the state, and I believe the largest in the country. So I guess I want to say is our heritage sort of alive and thriving here in Rotterdam, right? And Rotterdam certainly has been great for us. But in addition, I think, you know, the fact that we're here, so many of our members come from Rotterdam, contribute to the town and so forth. And so I think the relationship has been good for both of us. Specifically, we contribute to organizations like the Boys and Girls Clubs, Little Leagues here in the town, number of organizations.
And so if someone wants to become a member, what do they do?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
First thing, you gotta have a lot of money. Actually, well, we have an application that they fill out, and first year's the fee is $75, which covers the first year's dues. After that, it's $60 a year.
Okay. And to be a member, you or a member of your family have to be of Italian descent? How does that
Actually,
work?
it's been changed, and the answer to that is no.
Okay.
Actually, anybody can belong to the Sons
So you
of
can let
Italy.
Greeks in now too?
Well, let's not go that far. Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
Come on, we have standards.
Let's be honest, we're joking here, which we maybe shouldn't do so much, but, you know, you and I have talked about this, and, Naples was founded by the Greeks in 500 BC.
Right.
And
The
Yeah.
Venetians invaded Cyprus.
Yeah.
So,
at the same
so, you
time.
know,
Very close
our
to
heritage,
Not
our
so much,
European,
that's what they say.
Caucasian heritage
Yeah.
is there, but,
It's everything.
Especially in Sicily, of
Yeah.
course, there's a lot of Greek influence in
Yes.
Sicily. Yeah, but anybody can join.
Anybody can join.
The only difference is, if there's not an Italian lurking somewhere in your background, or you're not married to an Italian, you can't hold office,
oh, okay.
right? And I don't know who would want to hold office.
Yeah, I understand, I feel your pain. Thank you very much, thank you very much, and God bless you guys for all that you do. And
Thank
the
you.
lodge looks wonderful, you're always making improvements there, and then you bought the property in the back, things are really
Yeah.
looking great there, so thank you very much, thanks.
And the
Thanks a lot,
food-
thank you.
and the food was
Thank you.
good.
And the food is
Yes.
awesome.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, see you guys later.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Nancy.
Thank
Thank you all
you.
very
Thank
much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so, now you can hear yourself in. So moving into just a couple of other announcements, mainly, and we'll announce this again at the upcoming meeting. Halloween will be recognized, celebrated here in Rotterdam on Wednesday, October 31st, which is Halloween. Designated hours for trick-or-treating are from 2 p.m. until 8 p.m. And the Rotterdam Police Department is once again asking parents to please cooperate by having their children home by 8 p.m. And Steve, I know you have a couple of announcements. Why don't we do them now? Let's do them now, yeah, because then at the end, we'll get through the agenda.
Yep.
And then we'll go to the back table for the budget conversation.
Okay, two public announcements. There is going to be a rabies vaccination clinic Saturday, October 13th, is Saturday. It's going to be at the Princetown Town Hall, 165 Princetown Plaza, Princetown, for the rabies vaccination for your cats and ferrets. It's going to be from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and dogs will be from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. And if you have them, please bring your previous vaccination certificate. And cats and ferrets must be in the carriers and dogs must be leashed. And it's free to Schenectady County residents and a cash donation is appreciated. Call 518-386-2818 with any questions. And this is from the Schenectady County Public Health Services. Second one is, it looks like it's being sponsored by Senator George Amador. It's called Shed the Meds. And essentially what you're going to be doing is on Saturday, on October 13th from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m., bring your unused, unwanted medications, but don't bring any liquids or sharps. So essentially what you'll do is you bring your pills, that which is expired or not used, or you don't know how to properly dispose of them, bring them here, and we will make sure that they get disposed of properly. Again, that's Saturday, October 13th from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m., Rotterdam Town Hall. Shed the Meds.
And it's the county sheriff's office is here also, right? For that event.
You may be
Just double
right.
check that, yeah. County sheriff's office. Yeah,
Let's see.
thank-
Yep,
Right, okay,
okay.
yeah. All right, very good, thank you. So Saturday, a couple of things going on here locally. move into public comment privilege of the floor. Ms. Marco?
Jack Dodson.
Good evening, Jack Dodson, 1311 Cipriano Terrace. Basically, I'm just here tonight to discuss the budget. And as you're aware, I did attend the first budget meeting, and a couple takes that I have from the budget meeting. One of the things that I am after is transparency on the budget. And I look at it as the budget gets posted or put on the website, and we use the phrase all the time that we need to have an informed electorate. I understand that. This budget is, just the budget itself is 95 pages, okay? There's not a lot of people out there in the public that are interested in printing 95 pages, let alone going in there and examining and doing a full analysis on a 95-page budget. So the question I have for the board is, times are changing, and we had a general conversation about this earlier in your pre-agenda meeting about how people view TV now, how they use electronics. Why are we changing with the times and actually educating our electorate and the public on our budget? People aren't going to attend a budget meeting. This stuff right here, maybe you got to be an accountant, an engineer, or someone who really loves numbers to understand a budget. Down to doing Excel spreadsheets, our typical pie charts, etc. I found over the years that I think that the school district does a very nice job conveying information to the public, and they have to, because the public has to come out and vote for a school budget. The public does not come out and vote for our town budget. And our town budget is about half of what the Rotterdam school budget is at $50 million, or the Shawmut budget of $50 million. So my question is we're still spending public's money. Why can't we do a better job of explaining to the public where the money is spent? And then not necessarily getting into the intimate details, but as I mentioned to the board last year, when we look at our budget, just the general fund, which is $15,771,000, we'll say some change, 88% of that budget is town offices, police, and either benefits relating to medical or retirement. $13,812,000 just for those items alone, of which almost $12 million of that is salaries and benefits. Out of the public should understand that. And then you break the budget down a little bit more, what I call the essential services of the town, which is safety inspections or code, planning, zoning, our senior center, the office for the aging here. I don't necessarily like that being used that way. Our parks, and some debt service associated with paying off our GE settlements. That's also in the highway fund. That amounts to $1.6 million. And what's left out of those items is about $360,000, what I call is quality of life for the town. That hasn't significantly changed since last year. So, and looking at those numbers, I just think it's nice to be able to give to the public. Have we ever had a mailer in the town that just sends this information out so they can appreciate what those numbers really mean? In addition to that, there is a fund balance of roughly $2.5 million from last year's budget that's carrying over to this year's budget. My comment is you already went through the budget process. The money was available to spend. There's a lot of things that need to be done in the town. And I'm not going to go through them right now because I don't have the time, but why aren't we spending the money? There's obviously things that need to be done. Would love to see them get done. Lastly, the vision. If you have a 5-year vision, okay, of, hey, these are the things that I'd like to accomplish from the supervisor standpoint or the town board standpoint, give an opportunity and put them out there for the public and say, hey, this is our goal. I think you guys are doing a yeoman's job relating to, hey, we have our own money that we're using in order to pay for the land for the DPW garage and transforming that from its current facilities to a more contemporary or modern facility here that everyone actually can use. That's great. But how much did the public really understand that? Okay? So a vision in my mind is getting out there with the vision on this, the budget, and really carrying this for a 5-year period. some of the takes that I have for the budget at this point in time. Thank you again for the opportunity.
Thanks for your.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Ms. Mark? Okay. Now, let's go into the resolutions then. Resolution 28018.
Adopt the meeting minutes from the September 26, 2018 town board meeting.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
I'll move.
Motion by Mr. Christo, is there a second, please?
A second.
Second by Mr. Signor. Anyone on the question? Okay, Ms. Marco, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Christo?
Yes.
Mr. Gitterelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Rivera is absent. Mr. Signor?
Yes.
Mr. Thomason?
Yes.
4 yes.
Okay, resolution 28018 passes. Resolution 28118.
Call for a public hearing to be held on Wednesday, October 24th, 2018 at 7 p.m. at the John F. Kirby Government Center, Town Hall, 1100 Sunrise Boulevard, Rotterdam, New York, 12306, upon adoption of a proposed local law of the year 2018 for the following purpose: to amend the code of the Town of Rotterdam, Section 266-52, entitled Schedule 12, No Parking at Any Time, to prohibit parking on the north side of Cardiff Road extending west from the driveway located at 2002 Cardiff Road to the fire hydrant located at 2004 Cardiff Road, and 10 feet on the either side of the driveway located at 2007 Cardiff Road.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
I'll make a move.
Motion by Mr. Gitterelli. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Second by Mr. Christo. Anyone on the question? Okay, Ms. Marco, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Christo?
Yes.
Mr. Gitterelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Rivera is absent. Mr. Signor?
Yes.
Mr. Thomason?
Yes.
4 yes.
Okay, resolution 28118 passes. Resolution 28218.
Authorize the supervisor to execute a 2018-19 grant application for the purchase of court benches and jury box chair upgrades in the Town of Rotterdam's Justice Court under the State of New York Unified Court System Justice Court Assistant Program, JCAP 187 Wolf Road, Albany, New York 12205.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
I'll move.
Motion by Mr. Signor. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Okay, second by Mr. Christo. Anyone on the question? Okay, Ms. Marco, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Christo?
Yes.
Mr. Gitterelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Rivera absent. Mr. Signor?
Yes.
Mr. Thomason?
Yes.
4 yes.
Okay, resolution 28218 passes. Resolution 28318.
Accept an insurance payment in the amount of $132,860 for the value of a highway vehicle covered by insurance, and hereby authorizes the comptroller to make the related highway fund budget modifications by increasing estimated revenues DA 510 and the revenue account entitled Insurance Recoveries DA 2680.00 by $132,860, and increasing appropriations DA 960 and the subsidiary account entitled Equipment DA 5110.2000 by $132,860.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
I'll move.
Motion by Mr. Christo. Is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Gitterelli. Anyone on the question? Okay, Ms. Marco, call the roll, please.
Mr. Christo?
Yes.
Mr. Gitterelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Rivera is absent. Mr. Signor?
Yes.
Mr. Thomason?
Yes.
4 yes.
Okay, resolution 28318 passes. Resolution 28418.
Accept the 2017 audit report from Cusick & Company, Certified Public Accountants LLC at 7 Airport Park Boulevard, Latham, New York 12110.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
I'll move.
Motion by Mr. Signor. Is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Gitterelli. Anyone on the question? Okay, Ms. Marco, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Christo?
Yes.
Mr. Gitterelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Rivera absent. Mr. Signor?
Yes.
Mr. Thomason?
Yes.
4 yes.
Okay, resolution 28418 passes. Resolution 28518.
Accept town clerk's report for the month of September 2018.
Okay, motion, please.
I'll move.
Motion by Mr. Christo. Second, please.
Second.
Second by Mr. Signor. Anyone on the question? Okay, hearing none. Ms. Marco, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Christo?
Yes.
Mr. Gitterelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Rivera absent. Mr. Signor?
Yes.
Mr. Thomason?
Yes.
4 yes.
Resolution 28518 passes. Resolution 28618.
Authorize budget transfers by the town comptroller to various accounts for 2018.
Okay, motion, please.
I'll move.
Motion by Mr. Christo. Is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Gitterelli. Anyone on the question? Okay, Ms. Marco, would you call the roll?
Mr. Christo?
Yes.
Mr. Gitterelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Rivera absent. Mr. Signor?
Yes.
Mr. Thomason?
Yes.
4 yes.
Okay, resolution 28618 passes. What we're going to do now is we're going to congregate at the back table for about an hour, and we'll adjourn the meeting after we have a little more discussion regarding the budget and so on, and we may have some conversation about the where some of our reserves are and that kind of thing. So, so just take a couple minutes here, so folks want to grab a chair over there. I'm gonna go get my budget paperwork. Samantha's not here, as we know, so unfortunately, so. I think what I'd like to do, if we could, go through, let's talk about some of the things that you all have in your mind. I think we left off on page 22 last time.
Mr.
Remember right?
Supervisor, if we could just go back to, I was tasked to check with the chief on some items.
Sure, go ahead.
If I could just fill you in on them.
Yep.
Let's go to page 14. Okay, there was a question on why $12,000 for the police uniform clothing allowance, okay? There is a pending purchase order that's gonna bring it right up to that 12,000. There's like 12 officers that are eligible for this particular allowance, so it's at about 11,000. So the chief did feel kind of comfortable possibly knocking 1,000 off, but more than that, we might be under the radar.
Okay.
So do you wanna knock the 1,000 off, do you wanna knock?
That's his recommendation.
Well, he was comfortable with 1,000, because he said he calculated like $10,080, so at 11,000, all right, so we'll knock
Let's do
1,000
that.
off of that.
Okay.
The other question that was inquired was the training equipment. The question was, why did we spend so little in 2017? And I guess at that point, there had been a surplus for previous years of, and this line is basically, training stuff like ammunition, taser cartridges, things like that. So, it looks like that's a, and there's a purchase order in for 7,200 that hasn't shown up on this, so he's requesting 7,500.
And one of the things I just want to say around equipment, particularly with the police department, is that no different than the armored, their armor that they wear, the weapons that they use, things become aged. They don't work anymore. So oftentimes they'll have to, where they'll be able to get grants, they work on grants. So they're very successful getting grants for a lot of different purchases, but when you have to, I'm going to say, outfit the entire department.
So those two numbers were justified,
Okay.
and the last one was 4302, which was the patrol vehicle gasoline. He looked at prior numbers, and he was okay. He's like, I hope I don't run out of gas, but he was okay dropping that by 20,000.
Okay.
Okay?
And
Because we
that's-
never used 65, so we're giving them 10 more than they used in 17. So
And
hopefully
that's
that's,
always a.
So we're going to 75?
75,
yeah.
okay.
So that's a moving target, and
It is.
hopefully there won't be too many spikes.
They can
but
walk. They run out of gas.
There's always bicycles and horses.
Yeah,
right?
white patrols too, or no?
Yep, we're ready to go.
There we go.
We'll make it work.
Well,
Yeah, so those were the only questions for the chief.
I'm speechless right now.
So,
Okay.
so we can pick up where we left off.
Wait for once. I'm
Can we write
speechless.
this down?
Yeah, I think, yeah, exactly. So, all right, so where are we, anything else after page 15, 16, 17, go to page 22, is that okay? And again, what I'd like, just for the record, let's give, deference to Ms. Miller Herrera, because she's not here. If something comes up, at our next budget workshop, which is Monday, the 22nd at 5:30, that she may be able to, she may have some other suggestions outside of what we're talking about right now. I also like to just let everyone know that Dana Osta is one of the administrative staff in the supervisor's office, does a lot of work. She's shy. She does a lot of work for the entire town board and our town attorney. And so she is here to make notes, because I've asked her to do so, and just take another look at the budget as well as we move forward here.
Just, Mr. Supervisor,
Yes.
on page 21 at the top,
Yes.
garage maintenance and supplies.
Yes.
I know Larry's here, and I want to give him the opportunity. Larry, you requested 25,000 on that.
Joe, I'm sorry, I apologize.
Oh, page 21, no, that's all right.
Page
Page
21.
21, garage maintenance and supplies. Larry, do you want to speak to that at all, the 25,000?
Yes, like to. The reason for that, a couple months back, we put a bid out for the sludge cleaning out of our tanks behind the highway garage. The bids came in like close to $4,000 for Precision to come and clean the sludge out of the holding tanks, to leave the exit the garage. Just keep with EPA and everything standards, we gotta clean up tanks out
How often do you do that?
3 to 4 times a year.
Okay, so 3 or 4 times a year, you don't need 25,000,
Well,
right?
4 times
no,
4
you
is
have your
16.
previous garage maintenance and supplies line that we've used in the past, but then if you take 4 times $4,000, you got $16,000 plus whatever we previously used.
Well, hopefully, we're not spending
No,
money on
I'm saying-
maintenance, though, based on the fact that we're looking towards
All
the
right,
new building.
if you don't mind, Larry, but this is current operations, is
Current
what he's
operations, okay.
referring to, so
Right,
if you don't mind.
let's circle around that.
Can you just get us that? And I don't want you to misinterpret me, but I want to try to stick to the board and what it is we see. I don't mind you calling out Larry for that, but if you could get us that backup documentation for that item.
Yeah, I mean,
If
the
you don't mind, if
resolution
you don't mind.
was
Yeah, we'll circle that, and then we know that's an
Oh,
item to be
that was
discussed.
right,
That was the
I
resolution that was
apologize, yes, that's correct.
And it's
So,
4
no.
times a year,
So 4 times a year?
3 times a year, 4
Let's
times?
look at the resolution. I just don't remember it being that high.
There's a cap on
We'll
that,
look at
right?
that. We'll look at that.
All right.
Okay.
Don, you can-
I do, I know, sorry. I didn't know that was from there. My understanding for that line was that it really had to do strictly with utilizing improvements to the
Street.
garage itself and not to that. That's what that was gonna do.
Street lighting, it's a reasonable number based on rates going up right now, I think.
Yeah, well, yeah,
I think it's in line.
we all,
Yeah, we spent 68 in 17, we'll probably spend all of that in 18.
we're gonna spend close to about all of it in 18.
Yeah, so I would be afraid to drop that number.
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
Because I'm renegotiating the restaurant now, and it's up probably about 10% from the last contract I
Don't
signed.
raise the rates on my omelets.
No, don't you worry. No, burgers might go up, but omelets should be, bacon is going up, though, I'll tell you that. Be careful.
Okay, page 22. Page 23.
Looking at 22.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I had a note, I'm sorry, Charlie, I didn't cut you.
No, that's all right, go ahead.
I had something to take up on, I don't know if we were talking about buses for the senior center, I don't know, was that something we were supposed to take up today, or is that just something else that I just put a note on here to take up?
So this is when we're leasing buses for
Yep.
trips, and the like. What we need to do this year, and again, when I say this year, when we know where our numbers are for 2018, I'd like us to set aside money specifically for the purchase of a brand new bus. And so we'll do that in the first quarter to second quarter next year. We'll purchase a brand new bus. Well, we'll set
Brand new,
aside-
brand new?
We'll, yeah, well, okay, so, we have experienced, which, and don't misunderstand me, we've been fortunate to receive, gifts in the past of buses or buy a used bus for
In the money pits?
a good, initially a good price, and then he's seen a couple of them over at the highway garage when they brought them over there to be repaired. And I think it's time that we purchase a new bus.
I'm gonna endorse that with this
Yeah.
explanation. Number one, we saw what happened in Schoharie. That
That's-
vehicle,
I don't want
that
that.
vehicle was not properly, it failed 2 inspections, okay? My wife runs a foreign exchange program at Niskayuna High School. The Spanish students left Tuesday morning. Wade said a bus. They had their bus inspector come out and inspect the bus, sent it right back and said, we want another bus. We're not putting these students on that bus. So I agree. I think if we invest, whether it's a lease, we might be able to lease something like that,
But I think we need to set aside a chunk of money.
I think so too. I think the
After
seniors
this
have earned
year's,
it, and that will also cut out any bus rentals, because,
It'll help.
yeah, you
It'll
just have
help.
to hire the driver, that's
Yeah,
it.
no, we have someone that does that for us.
Who do the driving for that scenario?
We have someone that works for us that does that with our own bus.
Okay.
So, or with our own car, earbuds, and he's properly licensed to do so too, you know. So, but I think that we need to do that. So
With that kind of scrutiny, what's going on, people cutting corners.
it's just
I don't
also,
wanna be part of that.
and honestly, just from a maintenance perspective, it's just high time that we go down that road. You know, we've tried, the town has, I think, done the right thing in the past from that perspective, tried to save money where it could on that particular, you know, vehicle, because it's not used as much as a police car or a highway snowplow, let's say, okay? It doesn't get the kind of wear and tear, you know, they drive slow. And, you know, Lenny, you know, he does a good job with everybody, but I think that that's what we have to do for this coming year, so, that's one of the.
Just for my own
Yeah.
education, how big a bus? Just more.
15 passenger, I think, is what we've had
Sounds
in the
max.
past. 15,
One five,
15,
okay.
yeah. I think that's what we've had in the past, 12 to 15 passengers.
Anything more, what was it,
Yeah.
Dana? We looked it up. Anything more than,
It's less than 15. I think it's,
yeah,
Is it 12?
14, I think. is the
I think
max.
it's
15
15
was the
including the driver, it has
Right.
to be.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So it's like
We're
12.
not talking about the CDL.
That's right.
Yeah, what's the CDL requirement?
Over,
I think that's what
over
it is.
15,
Over
14
50.
plus the driver.
14 plus the
Yeah.
driver.
Yeah, that's the max. Just a budget note here, because we're still allocating the brass rail, which of course we would want back open. The seniors want this desperately, and so much to the point where I had a conversation with half a dozen seniors that meeting.
Yeah, we had a couple
When,
meetings,
you know,
yeah.
you know, there was a lot of information and misinformation, but I asked them outright, I said, you know, the brass rail as it is, you know, these prices that you're looking for is a losing proposition. Are you okay with taxpayer dollars going to subsidize the brass rail to keep it open? And the seniors all said, well, don't you think we've earned it as seniors? So they understand that it's a cost and it might affect their own property taxes, but they want it. So that means to me that, you know, we have to find a way to make it work, you know. I think that then again, I can do a food cost analysis and see if we can adjust a little bit, still keep it within the budget that they want. But, you know, I think it's a necessary expense.
Yeah, as we get the fire and smoke alarms
Yeah.
and all the detectors.
Well, my point is, there was a
properly
previous
installed.
board member who said it's a loser, we should shut it down. And I remember I pleaded for another year because I was of a different opinion, and I think I'm gonna stay with that opinion, you know, just as full disclosure, and that, you know, we'll do the best we can, and I'll try to give whatever expertise and advice I can to make it successful.
So we're gonna leave the position in for a full-time cook over there for 28. So didn't we do weren't we bringing food in from outside and having certain days that people were able to sign up for the meals, sign up to even help serve the meals, things like that?
Well, it
and
got
I-
a little hairy
I-
because it was, you know, you
Right,
get
I
into
understand.
some health department issues and things like that, so we kind of put a cease and desist to a lot of that, because, you know, you can't, you know, there was sale of food where there shouldn't have been sale of food, and a lot of complicated things that would take up the whole night to discuss, but you and I can talk about that if you'd like, Joe.
Can I, on that, we're gonna go, because I'm looking at what we had for 2018 for that, and it was a 26,810, so we're gonna go about $1,500 increase in salary, is that right?
Well, that's by contract.
Oh, it is by contract.
Longevity,
Okay.
right.
So if we were to
Understood.
bring
Thank you.
somebody new in, Mr. Supervisor, we'd have to pick them up where Pina's salary left off,
We
or?
can't discuss that right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but that's.
The budget's
well,
still gotta be
The
there.
budget's gotta be there. yeah.
Right, and is this a full-time position or part-time? This seems like
full-time
something we
position.
could have part-time. No?
I think the first steps right now is let's get the senior center reopened. Let's get the programs, as many programs back as we can. And then as we look to rebuild what's there, you know, through the next several months.
Breakfast a month,
we
72.
look at,
That's
we look at, you know, that operation, see what we can do that makes more sense for everybody. And what I mean by that is the programs that are being offered, the hours, the number of people that are there, et cetera. And go from there. But there's, that brass rail was completely let down by the.
Oh, yeah,
by the
no, I know that,
Yeah,
but I've
we were
been there.
yeah,
It's
we were
it's
there
gutted,
together, yeah.
yes.
So
And I'm
there's-
in favor of the food there, I'm just,
Yeah.
and I know at one point we talked
Yeah.
about even participation with the seniors as far as helping out with the preparation of food, serving of food,
I think-
having it as almost a program to get involved in.
Whatever, obviously whatever we do, we have to, you know, do under the auspices of the, you know, public health department of the county.
Yeah,
So we'll
no, I
get there,
understand that.
But, again, you know, if they open at 7 for breakfast and they close at 2 or 2:30 by the time we clean up, it's a 7 to 3 job, 1 hour break. It's an 8 hour, it's a, you know, it's a
Yeah.
full-time job.
But again, getting seniors involved.
Okay.
Moving on.
All right. Page 24.
Oh, wait, can we go back? I guess we're not moving on. Senior center cleaner, full-time. So that's a full-time position. We have a designated cleaner for just that building.
Maintenance and cleaning for just that building, yes.
That is also contractual with
Yes.
CSEA? Okay.
Yes.
When I say CSEA, am I correct in
Yes,
saying that? Okay,
correct,
thank you.
yep. Page 23. Page 24. Anything there?
Just the park attendants, again, is that another contractual?
So the park attendants, those are, okay, those go through that. So without mentioning people's names, okay, if we could, so our town carpenter, just as an example, give you some idea of the talent that he, and he usually gets assistance from one of the parks department employees. So, several years ago, I mean, they built that, they built that podium. They just rebuilt the blades for the windmill that fell down while I was there.
That comes out of that line, the $214,000 line?
Well, no, I'm talking about the personnel, from personnel perspective, the talent that these people have to be able to do that, which would cost us an enormous amount of money if we, were to try to hire.
Sure.
The park attendants are a number of people, these are the full-time parks attendants, so the gentlemen and the folks that you see cleaning our parks, going down to park attendants, part-time, and there's labor involved there too in parks. Park attendants part-time, that is the summer help, right?
So, but that
That kind of
park
assistant.
attendance, the 199
Yeah.
going to 241, that's
Okay.
contractual?
Yeah, well, it's contractual, and then there's also a buyout there for one of the employees that is put in their paperwork to potentially retire.
That explains it,
Yeah,
thank you.
okay, that's what you were,
Yeah.
you weren't.
The jump,
Gotcha,
the jump,
gotcha,
right.
okay. And what else did you like me to explain? The RAP, the prep programs, those are the summer programs that are held at the senior center with the children. The assistant parks supervisor, that's a stipend that is paid to the individual that oversees all of the parks staff. One of the challenges for any municipality in this, separation of buildings and people and so on. So he monitors and works directly with Mickey to make sure that all of the work that needs to be done in the parks is completed.
I'm sorry, this is the senior rec?
The assistant parks supervisor.
Oh, that,
Stipend, that's what
Yeah,
I
right
explained
above
what that is, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
We've been doing that
Yeah.
for a while. It works, seems to work, seems to, get more effective use of time and personnel.
Okay, when we get to it, I'm
Go
gonna
ahead,
jump
go
in.
ahead.
Recreation specialist, prep,
Mhm.
I'm just wondering, I just saw, just because the pattern was originally like 7,000, and it looks as though it never,
What's happening there, I've got to tell you that in order to attract people to those positions to run these programs, so we're talking about the leaders and someone to really oversee, we have to spend a little bit more money,
okay.
honestly.
Yep.
So that's really what it is. These summer programs are important for a lot of families in town,
Mhm.
and so we need to attract more people to the positions, and we can only really do that with a few more dollars.
Gotcha.
Anything else?
So one of the things when you look at, we're looking at 25, are we all on 25? Okay, so just drop down a few lines there to parks improvements, you know, why are there no dollars budgeted in those? Because we use our parkland fees there. So what we do is when we have those long 10 or 15 sentence resolutions that Ms. Marco has to read at the board meetings, moving money from parkland funds to pay for certain items, work that's being done. So that's why you don't see dollars really budgeted there, because we move the money into that area or that part of our budget when we are getting those improvements made. And those again, those parkland funds are coming from the development in town. They're not coming from the taxpayers, from the perspective of spending tax dollars there. And just also the other thing that isn't reflected here either in this area yet is the money that we would be receiving from the county as well. We received a commitment from them for this year, $125,000. So a lot of improvements have been made to Westina Park. You saw the new sign that we are ordering for Kiwanis Park, something bright and new. So, and then Great Flats Nature Trail will have a big stone there that will be carved, hopefully soon, and installed there to signify that trail, and those funds for all that work, it came from the county. But we've also put in a lot of money, of our own money in the last couple of years into our parks, and there's more to be done, as you're all aware. So we're moving in the right direction there, I think.
So Supervisor, line 4302,
Mhm.
parks gasoline. That also seems to be a significant jump. I think we could probably.
I had that.
We're flat, really. It's
No, that's.
8250.
But they only spent 3652 in
Okay.
2018.
But let me say
Well,
this.
we're
to you.
still going.
We're still going, and again, those, they're always behind on the gasoline,
But they,
like a month or
but
two.
they spent,
Registered.
they
Right,
spent like
yeah,
6,000.
So you
So,
only got,
so
27.
you've only got like through June 30 there.
right.
So that
So
would
we don't
make it-
even
that would
know what
double
we.
that, so,
We're at least double.
yeah, because you spend more in the winter, is that correct, or?
Well, the parks department, with the vehicles that they have in the winter, what they do besides, the guys shoveling and they do snow plowing also for our town
Okay,
buildings.
So that's,
and
they're
some of the
7,300.
smaller roads.
So it's less than
yeah.
$1,000 difference.
I mean,
that's
it's
fine.
not gonna be, yeah.
All right, maintenance of supplies, we went from 15 to 20.
So with that, so there are items that, you know, when it comes to parkland funds, that we, you know, so we don't, you know, we're utilizing parkland funds in the big spends, right? So redoing fencing, putting new signs up, doing those kinds of things. When it comes to the other maintenance supplies, we may be, you know, buying, you know, wood for picnic tables, buying more equipment, and repairing other equipment within the parks, for example, you know, swing set or something else. That's where a lot of that money's coming from, in that particular line right there. Besides the you know, the materials that they use, the stuff that they use in the parks. Now, we don't use, just so you know, we don't use any insecticides, we don't use any fertilizers in our parks, we don't use anything like that. So that's not even, has nothing to do with any of that, just to let you know, just.
Again, I just, not to question or anything, I just look at like the pattern of the spending. I think that's kind of
Gotcha.
what Evan does too.
Mhm.
So, you know, we just brought, looking at
We spent
2016.
we spent 15,500, let's say, in 17. And all the expenses aren't in yet for 18, we're at 13,500 already. And
You're gonna hit the 15.
I anticipate
Yeah.
we're gonna be way over 15, we're gonna be closer to 20 this year. And again, with all the work that we have that is going on within the parks over the last couple
Did
of years.
people notice that? Residents notice the money we spend in the
I
parks?
think they do.
Okay.
I think they
they
do.
do.
The biggest
Yeah.
challenge for us, and I got another email tonight from one of the parks, from one of the leaders of one of the youth leagues, being specific, and you know, they're just, I don't know why people find it necessary to deface and break things in our parks. I just, I don't understand, but it happens, and so that's the other thing that we can't control. Some, you know, swing set costs money, and every time we order one or two, we have a couple in, you know, but they keep a couple in reserve.
Right.
But it just seems to me that we put them out, we have to go back and order more. So, and they're not, nothing there is going down in cost.
Is it a particular park?
It's it's every park really.
Okay,
And
not
and
one
the
more
other-
than the other,
No,
like
it's
the
really
appropriate
it's really every park and that has something going on. But the other piece I'll say to you is that these play structures that we have in the parks, now they're now what, 12 years old, 13 years old, something like that, and they're great. But anytime that we have to replace a part, and you cannot Dana or Teresa in particular, they've helped me with this stuff. And then the Parks Department with these purchases. And you might replace one, you know, you see like a steering wheel, let's say, on, you know, a steering wheel on there. And you're like, well, geez, how much can that really cost? And then you start looking at the prices that they charge for that particular steering wheel. So, you know, $150 to whatever it is. And it's, okay, can we mount just a regular steering wheel? Yeah, you start thinking, what can we do to modify it? But you really can't. You know, those play structures are made a certain way. Our insurance,
Safety
right?
standards and
All these
other
things
stuff.
all play a part of it. So no matter what you do, we're better off from a liability perspective and everything else, and so that the kids have places to play, and people can enjoy our parks. To replace that piece as quickly as possible, and the cost does not go down. It hasn't gone down at all on any of that. But again, there's only certain companies that make replacement parts for those play structures. So a lot of the stuff we buy in state contract. So you know, a lot of these items also we're doing the best we can on state contract. That's not always a possibility, but we do it when we can. You know, I think that, you know, you may be able to take a little bit off there if you wanted to, but if you want to wait for also for Samantha on that, if you guys want to just check that and just make a check mark there that's
On,
on parks, maintenance, supplies, I mean, you know,
But if we're 13 at quarter
I
three,
think we're gonna.
25% of that puts you
we're gonna
over
hit that number.
15,000,
Yeah,
so,
we're gonna hit that number.
you know.
But- Anything else on 25?
That's pretty boilerplate.
I don't know whose pen this is. Mine. Was it yours? Okay, anything on page 26? I haven't, I reached out to Mr. Woodward, and I know I'll hear back from him soon. He's quite busy right now, but as our town historian, one of the things that, and since I didn't have a conversation with him yet, I didn't want to make any changes here, but we'll talk maybe a little bit more about this if there may be some additional funds here for that area in preparation for our bicentennial. But I haven't, again, just to be, you know, I don't know that it would go there under historian, but I haven't had the chance for him and I to connect yet.
Steve, I just didn't know, I think that John had asked me, because of the senior center, I remember when
Yeah.
I was there, that
Yeah.
whole back room had all the historical stuff, he said, did that get ruined? And I said,
No, none
"Oh,
of it
good.
did.
Okay,
It
good.
was in a place that was completely out of the way. Thank God for that.
Yeah,
And we are going to be bringing all that out. As soon as we get the okay to get people in the building, we're gonna pull all that out of there. I just don't know the right place to put it yet. That's the other problem for us. Obviously, the one place we're going to put it is where there's no water,
gotcha.
you know, or, you know, in particular, because, you know, that's, yeah.
Yes.
But no, and really those boards, there's I don't know how many boards there are. I mean, if it's a dozen, I might be off
There's a
by a
lot.
dozen. I mean, I don't know. There's a lot there, and there's also an old brass plate that I only saw just now, you know, a week or two ago, and it actually it celebrates the sesquicentennial. I didn't know that was down there, so I think we need to bring that out and clean it up and mount it over here outside of town hall somewhere, because you know that, and then we'll find a place to put that, and then maybe something for the bicentennial. So yeah, so there's they spent Mr. Whalen spent years of his life putting all that together for the town, keeping it all together in Rotterdam Junction in his basement of his home. And, you know, he's since passed on, but there's a lot of work, there's a lot of history there, so we'll do something with that soon. Okay, so, page 27. Anything there?
I just, you know, your planning and zoning attorney just noted.
What's that?
Well, I'm just,
Okay.
again, just
Yeah,
looking at
just so-
patterns,
just-
just
yeah,
looking at
so-
patterns, you bumped it from like, say, 24.5 to 30,000, excuse me.
So let me tell you for two reasons overall. So the contracts that we have with, and Kate, please correct me if I'm wrong in any way thing that I say, because Kate she has those contracts memorized.
Let's not oversell it.
That's what we're saying. So, both the planning and zoning board have their own attorney. We made a conscious decision over a year ago to add two staff from that perspective. In the past, what was happening was Ms. McGurl was not only going to court, so she was, you know, on the nights that we have court, she was going to every planning commission meeting, every zoning board meeting. And frankly, I thought that was unfair, not only to her, but to her family, and I'll just be blunt with that. But there's also another part of it, which has to do with making sure that from a conflict of interest perspective. So for example, if the town board were taking a position on a project or on a new zoning classification, or taking a position on updating the comprehensive plan and adding or deleting certain things, whatever the case may be, Ms. McGurl was then not only the town board attorney, but then she's the planning commission attorney. You really can't serve both. We have a lot of work to do, and I think that this past couple of years in particular, you've been able to see some of the work that John Tingley has accomplished for the town. And don't misunderstand me, Stephanie Bitter does a wonderful job for the zoning board as well. All I'm getting at with John and or Stephanie is that they're both professionals. They do a great job representing the town, representing the legal knowledge, giving legal knowledge and expertise to both boards. And again, it gives us a clear, in my opinion, a clear path for not having a conflict of interest. Also, John has written, with help from others, from perspective of recommendations and revisions, the solar law, the mixed use zoning, and some other things that he's helped the town achieve. And the contracts also allow for the town to engage with them in an additional capacity should we need to do so. So that we're not put in a position where, again, if Ms. McGurl has a conflict of some kind in some way, and Mr. Tingley or Ms. Bittner does not, we're able to engage them in that way and as additional legal, and we're not talking about $50,000 or $100,000 here. We're talking about a few $1,000s more. And upcoming this year, or 2019, we'll begin the process of updating our bringing our comp plan back, have some additional, potentially additional meetings. So, those folks need to be compensated for that work. That's it. Okay?
Thank you very much.
Yep. Anything else there, or? No? Page 28?
See, what are you encompassing for planning studies?
That is the really updates for the comp plan.
Gotcha, okay.
So the money that we have there, so there could be a planning study in there, maybe we need to, I'm just throwing something out there without, some years ago, we did, just an example, I'll give you just a potential. Years ago, we had a 25A exit study. Some of that was sponsored or assisted by the Capital District Transportation Committee and so on. We received a grant for some of that work. We had to match some of it as well. But with all the changes that are coming potentially if we were to put sewer lines there and do some other work there, would the town then want a separate study outside of the comp plan, let's say, process of just that area again to really look at that, the greater potential of that area? I don't know, but we need to put in enough money to be able to cover us for all of the potential, or all the possibilities. But to engage an engineering firm, we'll be putting out an RFP. We're not just going to, put it out there, just hire someone. My intention is to put an RFP out there. A couple of other municipalities in the area have done so in the past couple of years, so we're looking at those as a guide for assistance, but more importantly, to see where we would be different. And we already have studies, most of them are available online through the CDTC, and I think Peter Comenzo, if you ever want links to those, you can just send me an email with the links. But all of these exits, exit 25, 25A, 26, were studied separately. Five Corners was studied separately. Not Hamburg Street, Broadway was studied separately from the city line into Five Corners. So there's a lot of information out there already. So there were visioning meetings. There were opportunities for the government here and the public to come together, talk about what they'd like to see different, what they'd like to see improved, what they would like to, see happen from the perspective of what types of housing choices, business they would like on their street, those kinds of things are in their neighborhood. So, 60,000 is kind of a start. I mean, this will be, so besides the comp plan, there's other potential studies that we may need, and we'll have money there. But most of that's comp plan.
Again, thank you.
Yep. Okay, anything else on page 28? So on page 28, I'll just say this, so that, the composting expenses, so the move of the compost, or the brush and leaf operation to our new site, we'll utilize some money that we have left over from 18 into 19, set aside in a reserve, for potential more improvements there, or other things that we need. So whatever we don't spend, frankly, in 18, I'd like to commit that money, because we will have some money left over there in composting. I'd just make sure we commit that money to the new property. We have enough money there to do the pad. We can get that moving. So the reason I lowered, we looked at lowering the number there is because, I think that with the new facility, we should be in good shape, and the material is being trucked out on a regular basis now, right, Larry? We're not.
Yeah, but.
We're not getting anything there. I think we're.
Yeah, but, I mean, in future, you gotta look forward to a new machine or something. The machine you use is 25 years old.
So
And for the longest time, we've been taking the parts from the old burn one,
Yep.
that now a lot of the parts are gone, so next year you may see us
But this
increasing
isn't,
some.
I got you, but this
costs
isn't, but
for
this,
repairs.
I got you, but this isn't where we should be budgeting for in other words, saving money for the new machine. What we need to do there is create a capital account, create another capital account, start putting money aside for that, and make a note of that too.
How
We're
much,
talking
Larry,
Jackie
what's
about that.
roughly, now holding it to, what's roughly, was a machine like that?
Hundreds of thousands of dollars,
Really?
450,000.
hundreds of thousands.
Wow.
So to be in this business, it's expensive.
Yeah.
Upwards of it,
My
yeah.
God.
Yeah. I guess Mr. Christou is out of the building. All right. He's got stuff going on. All right. But we will, so, we're gonna set aside for that, okay? Rather than budget in this way, let's get the money and put it away every year, a little bit every year. Okay, anything else on 28? And now that he's left, I really don't wanna go too much past us here. I mean, I can bring up a couple random things to you too, I guess. Page 29.
It's a recap.
Yeah. So, let me go just down, if I could, down to cemetery. So, the town, by virtue of state law, has to upkeep abandoned plots or abandoned cemeteries where we know they exist. It's the best way I can say it. Now, there has been some conversation about an abandonment, I guess, or is that the right term?
Talking about Fisher.
Yeah.
There's a variety of different ways that you can divest yourself of a cemetery depending on what
Not
type
the
of-
town, you're talking about an association or a
Well,
diocese or whatever.
It could be a
you wanna call
diocese, it could be
right?
a not-for-profit, it could be an inability to care for it under the town law. There's several different mechanisms under the law.
So the issue, so from my perspective, you know, we have to budget a little bit of money here for a potential, but we also, our Parks Department employees, and those expensive, of the current ones that we cut, was it 3 times a year, 4 times a year that we're obligated to cut the grass and maintain the property, right, 3 to 4 times a year. They do that work and it really just comes out of parks. We've never really segregated a line
Yeah.
for that, so we need to do that to keep track. But more importantly, I'll say this, I do not think that it's wise for us to put a future obligation or a current obligation or future obligation on the town from a fiscal perspective, without knowing what the, I'll be blunt, what the truth behind what is happening is happening, right? You know, without knowing the financials, without seeing, getting, you know, enough information from the state of New York and the agencies that oversee cemeteries, one way or another, was Department of State and,
It's Department of State.
it's Department of State is the only one, okay,
Division of
okay.
Cemeteries.
For no reason I was thinking there was another, okay.
They have a cemetery board that requires different representation
Okay.
from different state agencies, but that's overseen
That's
by
okay,
TOS.
that's right,
That's
okay.
what you're thinking.
Okay, so there's a potential that we might have to do something else, but we have, without being specific to any particular issue, when something comes to my attention, the first thing that I want to know is, what's it gonna cost us? Why are we doing this business? Which is really the first question. What's it gonna cost us? And more importantly, I want everyone to be upfront, and we don't have any financials. We you know, in this particular situation, we don't have anything else outside of correspondence that's come to us, and frankly, the correspondence has been different, a little bit different each time. So we're venturing, we're looking into it, and we'll have maybe more or less as the months go on here. But
I would just say that if anyone else is looking for any other additional information before we approach any cemetery that's looking to dissolve its not-for-profit or is becoming abandoned, please let me know.
yeah.
So,
Okay, anything that Steve or Joe, you looking through here, anything else that jumps out at you?
Page 29?
29?
Should we stop there with Evan gone and Samantha not here?
Yeah, we can. I mean, one of the things I'd like to just mention to both of you, Samantha and we went through this a bit, you know, together, I think, early in the year, as far as, you know, when we talked about where things were for the town prior to, you know, each of your service here on the board, Steve and Joe. But the one thing I just got, if you just want to jump to page 75 in the budget, real quick here, so. You know, where does the money come from, right? So, you know, looking here at the, and why do we have to keep like additional reserves? You know, maybe even beyond a little bit of what we're I guess I want to say recommended to keep. So property tax, that's kind of self-explanatory. That's basically going to end up being, you know, one form or another, the levy. That's basically that number. The pilots, the town is receiving more money in pilots, but there's also a problem with that from the perspective that it's not, you know, we're not able to appropriately get the tax base where we need it to be. And it also affects our ability for items in the town, I'll say it like that, but also it affects our tax cap as well. So, when they're doing the computation, but, our tax cap this year is 2%, we're staying obviously below that, so we're good there. The couple things I just want to point out that you just jumped down a few lines there, the sales tax. We've been doing pretty well there from the perspective that we're 17, we exceeded the number a little bit. We'll probably be close to the same number, I think, for 18 and probably for 19. But you can see, like, what we've received to date as of 9/24/18 is less than half of what we have budgeted. So, the budget is dependent upon that sales tax revenue. In other words, when the sales tax money comes in, it comes in months after it's actually received, by the state and/or by the state, mostly and/or the county, and that's just a function of that's the system. There's nothing we can really do to change that. So having additional resources on hand for us helps us with any kind of expense and revenue mismatch. So, but we're trending in the right direction there. Franchises, that is the majority of that is the money that we receive through Spectrum, Time Warner, and that's a number that at some point I think we as a board and future town boards are going to have to look at ways. And I'll say this, something that I said many years ago when I first ran for office, when I was talking about the landfill. So the town landfill we were driving a lot of revenue from the landfill, and that landfill was helping balance the town budget. And then when the landfill closed, guess what? The revenue dependency on the budget went from $300,000 to $1.2 million in 2 to 3 years' time. And all of a sudden, the people got socked with a big tax increase because guess what? The landfill was closed, no more revenue coming in. And now you got an expense side to the budget. And so now you're running maybe $1.5 million deficit rather than just $1.2 million or $300,000, right? So, big money. I think at some point, if there's ever a change, and I don't know that this will happen, but I think that this particular area that the towns need to look at, because it's not only the technology changing, but depending on what the legislature does, a future legislature, future governor does with this particular area and how franchise fees are calculated, how they're basically awarded, who does the contract negotiations. In some states, the states themselves are the ones who do the contract negotiations with these large utilities like the Time Warners or the Spectrums or the Charters or the Verizons, etc. It's not the local governments. So, having said that, I think that at some point we got to start looking at ways to wean ourselves a little bit off this revenue every year. And if what that means is that money, can someday basically be put more into reserves, that's okay. But I think this is an area that is no different than what we were receiving in the past with another operation in the town, because again, we don't know what the future holds in the way of these franchise agreements. And right now, it's still up in the air as to whether or not I think that the current provider of cable and internet is staying. I don't know what's happening there. That's one of the reasons why we kind of held back a little bit from waiting for what the state is going to do there, and then we can start looking at renegotiating if that's even a potential for us. There's no need for us to go spend legal, because we'd be spending legal fees here and consulting fees to renegotiate a contract when we don't necessarily know who it is we're negotiating with yet. So, more to come on that. Let's see, I just want to give you a couple of other things in here that may. So the parkland fees, you go about 60% or so of the way down. It's number 2,100. So that's where you see that's where we put in the revenue piece of parkland funds, and you can see that's a pretty healthy number in 17 and so far in 18, and I think we're going to see a similar number in 19 as well. But again, that money is strictly used. It's not a revenue really from the perspective that we can spend it on anything we want. These monies can only be used for parks and parklands. And as you go down, you start to see the some of the other areas that, you know, we received some revenue from here or there, and going to page 76. So just to give you some idea, I mean, I would ask you to just look through this a little bit on the revenue items in particular, and see if there's something there that, we often will fixate on the expense side, but the revenue side is also something that needs to be looked at, because obviously anything that we make a change there that's positive or negative is going to affect could affect the tax levy. And you can see there where we've made a bit of a modification. If you go to page 77, our mortgage tax is coming in pretty good. We're bumping that up just a little bit, so we think we're going to be okay there. See a little bit of an increase in revenue there. So what I'm getting at is we do, like I said, we fixate on the expense side. We'll look at those revenues, and if you see something there that maybe I haven't picked up on, please make a recommendation.
So, Mr. Supervisor, the sales tax is flat every year. When is that negotiation up with the county?
Was it a couple years?
Couple years?
2020.
It is a few years off,
It's a
though,
couple
right?
years, yeah. Yeah. But, one of the things I want to tell you is that I have, one of the reasons why we received the money for parks and this year was that, a couple of years ago I started, it was just me, but other, we all talk about, well, what can we do? How can the county help us out? And so that came from those kinds of conversations. I don't want to say anything more than, because I don't know, the county budget's still being worked through.
Oh, right. No, I
But,
understand that.
I did provide our county chairman of the legislature, Tony Jasinski, with a bunch of different, options for assisting us with infrastructure, parklands, and some other potential items. But again, it's no different than, just one of us trying to do something if we can't get a couple of other people to get on board with us to move something through. So he asked me for that information. I provided it to him. I did tell him, not from a priorities perspective, I said, these are all really equally important to us, and some of the projects are things that we've been working on, that when I say we, the town itself has been working on for a long time, or frankly, our infrastructure or other improvements that have been needed in the town for 20, 30 years, and for whatever reason, and this is just one of the unfortunate things, I'll say it like that, about local government, or any government really, layer of government, is that, people in your community can bring something to your attention and say, this is really important to us, we really would like to see this done at the park, or we need some drainage work done, or we need, we want our road paved, or we need something accomplished here on the side of town. And what happens is, 2 years later, there's a different supervisor, there's different board members, and frankly, the attention or the priorities kind of change. So what we're trying to do is it's not about there's no way we could accommodate every single ask, but the things that I think you see that are important to all of us, which I commend the board in this regard, is that we're all on the same page when it comes to infrastructure, when it comes to our water system, when it comes to protecting in particular the quality of our water. And so those are the kinds of things that I gave to
Tony?
Chairman Jasinski, yeah. So, no different than, again, as I said, there's different priorities in different parts of town, just by virtue of the fact of either the age of the infrastructure, the types of businesses or homes that are in the area, from the perspective of, their age. And what I mean by that is that, the infrastructure, the roads, the water, the sewer, just need to just keep moving in that direction to improve. So on our, one last thing I'll say, and say one last thing here, I think. So we have this, we were given this short today short report by Ken Claflin from Cusack and Company. And it does review all this material after, since we voted in the affirmative to accept the auditor's report. All this information will be placed on the town website. Jackie was putting together, getting access to the PDFs today. And so hopefully she'll have them by sometime tomorrow at the latest, and we'll get these all on the town website. But our cash position in the town has improved again this year. Our audit, it basically came back as, the opinion is unmodified, and the word clean in quotes. So basically that everything is good here. Our people, our department heads, and others for the most part are doing exactly what they need to do. More importantly for us, from the perspective of where we're putting our resources, as we move forward, we're going to use monies that were within our budget for 18 and set them aside in reserve accounts. We're going to look at our fund balances and maybe set some more money aside into these reserve accounts for things like purchasing a new tub grinder, doing other improvements, and maybe equipment purchases. So it's a lot of work, but we'll get it done. The thing I'll just point out is, as you look through the pages here that kind of detail taxes, non-property tax items, departmental income, et cetera, the good story in all these figures is that the dependency on real estate taxes has declined a bit over the last handful of years, and that's a testament to the prior administration and this administration as well. And I'm talking about Supervisor Baffardi and his administration. They started to fine tune some of the town operations, and we've, I think, done a good job in the last couple of years doing the same thing. And you find that as you go through this and you look at also the expense side, the area that we all have challenges with in every municipality is items like getting enough money for equipment, getting enough money for other expenses that are one-time expenses. And just in looking at this page here that goes over salaries, equipment, contractual items, fringe benefits, the one thing that you see in this, and you can see where some of the improvements in the town have been made, is that fringe benefits is something that we try to get control over, and hopefully over the next few years the federal government and the state government will come up with more options or some other changes that could assist us to, in every way, whether we're talking about public or private sector, to cut back on the cost of benefits from the perspective that the cost of it, not necessarily what we're offering, but the cost of what it is. Find ways to do that. There have to be ways, but in our budget here, or in our analysis here of our expenses, since 2015 into 16 and 17, we've gone from 2015 to about $423,000 in equipment spending, to $1 million in 16, and to almost $1.5 million in 17. So we're buying equipment, we're buying vehicles, we're doing what we have to do to get the town to a point where it needs to be. And I know that we have more needs. The highway in particular has more needs for equipment. But I think that the bigger need right now, and we're working towards that, is that new building. Have a safe work environment, have lifts in the building. There's no lifts in the current highway department. I mean, we don't have to talk about what we know, but that's a priority, and we're doing it. But as you look through here, I think that you'll find a good analysis that was done by Cusack and Company of where things are for us, and so we'll get together again on the 22nd and maybe finish up the budget. But I'd ask you to work with the department heads and find some other areas that whether it's revenue, expense side, whatever it is, see what you can come up with to make recommendations for the board. So do we have a motion for adjournment at this point in time? Is that good with you guys?
Yes.
I'll move.
Okay, motion by Mr. Signor. Is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Guidarelli. Okay, the three of us all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, opposed? All right, thanks very much for coming. The meeting is adjourned. Appreciate your time.